The village nestled in the valley. Blackwater Hollow was its name. A fitting name. The river that ran through it was dark and deep. It reflected nothing. Not the sky, not the sun, and certainly not the soul. Alara Blackthorn was known throughout the region for her extraordinary gift. Her reputation as a healer had spread far and wide, reaching even the most distant villages. Alara lived in a small cottage on the edge of the Whispering Woods. People spoke of her with reverence, and her name was often whispered in prayers of gratitude. Each woman in her family had added to the collective wisdom, creating a legacy of healing that was unmatched. Her touch could soothe burns, mend broken bones, and draw out poisons. People marveled at her ability to heal wounds that seemed beyond repair. Alara's door was always open, her heart filled with compassion for the sick and suffering. She welcomed everyone, from the poorest beggar to the wealthiest merchant. Her home was a sanctuary, a place where people could find solace and hope. She was a beacon of hope in a world often shrouded in darkness. People came to her not just for physical healing, but for the comfort and reassurance that she provided. Her presence was a reminder that there was still goodness and light in the world, even in the darkest of times. But fate, it seems, has a cruel sense of humor. One autumn night, Alara's only child was found dead. A sickness swept through Blackwater, a virulent plague that struck down the strong and the weak alike. It came without warning, spreading rapidly and leaving devastation in its wake. The townspeople were terrified, and many believed that it was a punishment from the gods. Fear gripped the town as families watched their loved ones succumb to the relentless disease. The streets were filled with the sounds of mourning, and the once vibrant community was now a place of sorrow and despair. People looked to Alara for answers, but even she was at a loss. Alara worked tirelessly, her supplies dwindling as she fought to save her people. She searched the woods for new herbs, experimented with different combinations, and did everything in her power to find a cure. Her determination was unyielding, but the plague was relentless. She was their only hope, the sole shield against the relentless grip of death. Her strength and resilience inspired those around her, giving them the courage to keep fighting. Even in the face of overwhelming odds, Alara remained a symbol of hope and a testament to the power of the human spirit. As the plague ravaged Blackwater, fear twisted the hearts of the townsfolk. The once vibrant village, known for its lush fields and cheerful markets, had become a place of shadows and whispers. Their desperation grew, fueled by the relentless march of death. Every day, more bodies were carried to the mass graves, and the villagers' hope dwindled. The town's healer, Alara, worked tirelessly, her hands stained with the herbs and potions she concocted in a desperate attempt to save her people. Whispers began to circulate, blaming Alara for the plague. It started with a few hushed conversations in dark corners, but soon the rumors spread like wildfire. They said she had brought the plague upon them, that her remedies were curses in disguise. They pointed to her knowledge of herbs, to her strange remedies, and saw not a healer but a harbinger of death. Her once trusted hands were now seen as the instruments of their suffering. The villagers' fear turned to anger, and their anger sought a target. The whispers grew into accusations, and soon a mob gathered outside Alara's cottage. The night was dark, the only light coming from the torches they carried. Their faces, twisted with fear and rage, were illuminated by the flickering flames. The people of Blackwater dragged her from her home, accusing her of sorcery and witchcraft. They accused her of witchcraft, of summoning the plague to punish them. The accusations were wild and unfounded, but in their desperation, the villagers clung to any explanation that gave them a sense of control. Ilara's heart ached as she pleaded with them, but their minds were clouded by fear. They saw only a witch, a bringer of death, and nothing she said could change their minds. Alara's heart shattered as she was dragged from her home, the air thick with the smell of smoke and burning wood. Her cottage, the place where she had healed so many, was now a blazing inferno, a symbol of the villagers' betrayal. They bound her hands and dragged her to the center of town, where a pyre had been built where they burned her, believing that fire would cleanse her spirit and banish her dark arts forever. The villagers' faces were a mix of fear, anger, and a twisted sense of righteousness. As the flames licked at her feet, Alara swore an oath of vengeance. "You who turned on me will never find peace. This forest shall hold the shadows of all who betray, and in these woods you will find only darkness, forevermore." The forest changed. The trees, once vibrant green, turned a sickly gray. Their branches twisted and contorted, reaching out like skeletal fingers. The air grew heavy, thick with unspoken words and stifled screams. The villagers kept their distance. The whispering woods became a place of dread. Children's stories transformed into cautionary tales. They whispered of a vengeful spirit that haunted the woods, a spirit that lured people to their doom. Years passed. Decades. The village of Blackwater Hollow remained, but its people were trapped. The woods held them captive. Their laughter was subdued, their joy, a distant memory. They lived in the shadow of Alara's curse. Some said they saw her, a fleeting glimpse of a woman in a dark green dress, her eyes burning with a cold fire. Others heard her whispers on the wind, whispers of despair, whispers of vengeance. The curse lingered, a palpable thing. It seeped into the very soil of Blackwater Hollow. It poisoned the well from which they drank. It tainted their dreams, and it awaited the day it would be unleashed. Mara felt drawn to Blackwater Hollow. She was a historian specializing in folklore and forgotten histories. She had read about the village, tucked away in the archives of a forgotten library. A single line in a dusty tome had sparked her interest. Blackwater Hollow, it read, where the woods whisper and the dead remember. Mara arrived in the village on a day cloaked in mist. The air was heavy, pregnant with an unseen menace. The villagers were wary of her. Their eyes, dulled by years of unspoken fear, followed her every move. She set up her research in the old inn, the only inn in Blackwater Hollow. It was dark and damp. The silence was punctuated by the creaking floorboards and the whispers of the wind. Mara spent her days poring over faded manuscripts and crumbling scrolls. She listened intently to the hushed whispers of the village elders. They told her of Alara Blackthorn, the healer who had become the hunted. Mara felt a chill run down her spine as she listened. There was more to this story. She could feel it in her bones. The woods called to Mara. She could feel their pull, insistent and alluring. She ignored the villagers' warnings. She ventured into the heart of the whispering woods. The air grew colder. The light dimmed. The trees, twisted and gnarled, seemed to press in on her. She could hear the whispers now. They swirled around her, carrying fragments of the past. She saw flashes of Alara's life, her laughter as a child playing in the woods, her dedication to her craft, her hands gentle as she healed the sick. And then she saw the fear, the accusation, the flames. Mara stumbled back, her hand flying to her mouth to stifle a scream. She saw Alara's face, contorted in pain and rage as the flames consumed her. Mara felt a strange kinship with this woman she had never met, a connection that ran deeper than blood. She saw a vision of her own face reflected in Alara's tear-filled eyes. A single line echoed through the trees in the voice of Alara. "Mara, you are me." Shall we start?